So I'm really excited to show you guys our first ever clinical scoop video interview we did, and we're looking to do 3 or 4 of these uh, every month for Alzheimer's. So we're really trying to get into that vertical and interview experts and key opinion leaders and caregivers and patients and whomever else we can interview here locally in Southern California, which turns out to be a lot of people. There's a lot of talented, knowledgeable people in the Alzheimer's space in this area. And so this is the first of many we call Alzheimer's Talk. I'm not going to post them all on this channel. I'll post some, but I just wanted to show you guys some of the sites, some of the CROs. When I talk about content marketing and what you need to do, you need to do stuff like this. It doesn't actually have to be exactly like this, but you need to dominate your space, whatever that may be, whether it's glioblastoma, whether it's another type of oncology, whether it's diabetes, whether it's asthma, whether it's pain, whether it's schizophrenia, whether it's uterine fibroids, whatever it is. You can dominate that space online by doing rich media content like audio podcast, which, by the way, this will be converted into an audio podcast easily, videos, written blog post, Instagram post. If you need help doing this, my digital agency can help, and let me know. It's pretty affordable. Make it look professional like the one you're about to see. So let me know what you think, and hope to hear from you soon. Bye-bye.
So the greatest risk factor for developing Alzheimer's would be age. So the older we get, the more likely you are to develop Alzheimer's. A second risk factor would be genetics. So there are a gene for ApoE, and some people are ApoE2, some are 3, some are ApoE4, and we know that the ApoE4 gene confers a higher risk for developing Alzheimer's. So if you have one ApoE4 gene, you're about 3 to 4 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's, and if you have 2, then 2 copies of the ApoE4 gene, about 12 times higher. So just, with my history and my grandfather's Alzheimer's, I'm always curious what genetic status I have, but because there's no treatment option for it right now, it doesn't even make sense to know. So ignorance is bliss, I guess, in this scenario. And then, of course, a healthy lifestyle. So, what's good for the heart is good for the brain. And so if you are a, smoker, obviously that's going to make you higher risk of developing Alzheimer's, overweight, obese. So you want to just, whatever is good for your heart is good for the brain. So those are ways to decrease your risk factors of developing Alzheimer's. You can definitely do things to decrease your risk of developing Alzheimer's, but it cannot be prevented at the moment. There's a great group of researchers working on a variety of prevention trials, and they are looking at patients who come from families in Colombia that have a very high prevalence of Alzheimer's due to their genetics, ApoE4 carriers. So there's a lot of groups out there working on prevention trials, but there's no way to prevent it at the moment. So again, just being healthy is the best that you can do, right? Keep your brain active. Plasticity, neuroplasticity is a great way to keep making new connections, new memories, new thoughts, keep the brain healthy and active, keep the body healthy and active. Those are things that you can do. Lower your BMI, your cardio, increase your cardiovascular health. All of those things are going to help decrease your risk factors. And from these prevention trials, what we can do is try to maybe slow down the creation of the A beta plaques or earlier in the disease. So we know that about 10 to 15 years before you see the clinical symptoms, these plaques are forming. So if we can block or prevent the formation of those plaques, perhaps you could also block the progression or the onset of the disease. Theories as to the cause are endless. Everyone has their own theory. Of course, we know now from imaging studies, you do get the aggregation of these plaques, you get the tangles. Some from my previous background in just really looking at the pathophysiology of aging, you might say that this is a protein deposition problem, that there's not enough autophagy going on, the body's not clearing the bad plaques. So with things like calorie restriction or different ways of increasing autophagy in the body, you could cure the disease. But that is something that I'll leave for much smarter people than me to decide on what the different theories or mechanisms there are behind the development of Alzheimer's. Autophagy is just the recycling in the body that goes on. So you have old proteins that you don't need anymore, and then you have these vesicles that come and kind of clear it away and recycle away the garbage. And you can imagine that the better you are at recycling away the garbage, the better your body is functioning and doing all of its normal tasks. And if your recycling system stops working, that's when you start getting maybe the deposition of these plaques or atherosclerotic plaques anywhere in the body that you stop sort of recycling things in a good way, is when you start to see pathologies develop. I would say a lot more efforts are being done on developing therapies right now than looking at necessarily the how the disease progresses, or the onset of the disease. But definitely A beta. You're going to hear that over and over again. There's like a tau tangle camp. There's a amyloid beta camp. There's some people who call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. It's a hyperglycemia in the brain. It's an endless number of theories out there. Some are more popular than others. I think the Alzheimer's research community is doing a really great job right now of being collaborative and looking at different ways and different mechanisms of action to attack the same disease, which is great, because for a long time we thought it was, maybe a lot simpler than it's turning out to be. And I think there needs to be more awareness of the disease, the difference between just sort of cognitive impairment because of age and Alzheimer's, and how to really support caregivers through that, because they really have the highest burden of disease. The Alzheimer's patient doesn't really know how bad it is for them. It's really the caregiver that has to see this decline of their loved one, and having to see someone that they respect so much, like my grandfather in my case, who's like this, manly man, the patriarch of the family, just, kind of become someone who needed a lot more care, was hard to carry conversations with. And you try to not focus on those memories once they're gone, but still they're there. And it would have been nice to not have some of those sadder times with him.